We're in Ma'aser HaKorbanot, the 15th parak. So we're in the fourth halach over here. Yeah. Let's go over this, okay? There's a very important halachas here. Well, everything is, who am I to say more important than another one? So it says, Ben Masa Shutafin. What does this mean? The animal's jointly owned by partners. Okay, 50-50, let's say. This sort of review. He sanctified his half, and then he went and he bought the other half from the other, and then sanctified it. So it can be offered as a korban. It's a fully animal. It can also be offered. Even though at the beginning it was dichuya. This is an important word. The animal is dachuya. It means it can't be offered because it's only half holy. So right now we'll wait for something to happen. What?
Cut it in half.
No, it's all mixed in. Consider the halves are, it's homogeneous side. No, he can't. So you have a problem.
Kind of like with this half.
No, so what he could do is buy it out. So the one who sanctified half the animal should pay the other fellow for the other half, buy out the other half, or the fellow who sanctified it should now redeem the animal, take it to the temple treasury, and the temple treasurer will have someone buy this animal from the hektish, buy this half the animal. So now the money is given to hektish, and the animal is completely chulin. There's a way to redeem sacrifices, just like in most other things, trade, just like we do with Meiser Sheni, the kedusha is put onto the money. So that's a way they could do it. But this animal is dichuya, and that's an important concept we were discussing last time. The animal can't be offered as a korban now, but it doesn't mean it's forever disqualified. There's a psul. That means the animal's disqualified. Here it's just pushed off. Okay? Just like Tuma Dechuya B'tzibur, like the Rambam Paskins, means it's not that there's no rules of Tuma, just right now we're not going to keep those rules. But they're going to come into play soon. Okay? Even though it was Dechuya, that when he sanctified the first half, it's not completely pushed away. And even though it's a type of sanctification, its value has been sanctified. Because we're talking about an animal here, a living animal, there's no such thing as dahui forever for an animal. Therefore, it should be tikrav. It should be offered as a korban, and eventually, and it could also cause timura. Timura, we said last time, means that when a person tries the wrong way, says, "Oops, I sanctified the wrong animal. I really should have given that lamb." So now this lamb instead of that lamb. Now they're both holy. The trick doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a vahehu timura kodesh. Both the dit and the timura kodesh.
So how can you redeem it with money, but you can't redeem it with it?
Well,
you said you could redeem a korban by the temple treasury. So how come when he goes to the temple treasury, he can?
That works because that's not timura. That's pidyon.
Timura means he say I'm using the value of this sheep, and then the second sheep becomes.
And because you can't. That's what the Torah is saying. Timura and lo yamiro tov lo yachlifenu lo yamiro tov min Torah rabitov. Can't use another animal.
What's the difference between pidyon and
pidyon's with actual money?
Yeah, but why does it matter if it's money or?
Because that's what Torah said. The Torah said no timura. It's a whole section over here. Well, it's in the book of Korbanos. Here's Me'ilah, right here. You want to read about timura? Well, we'll read about it next time. But that's what the mitzvah is. It's a gezeras hakasav. Okay, sorry, but that's it's kind of funny. This also, we saw this before. This animal should be a burnt offering, or this animal is a burnt offering. Okay, lit ola. What's harezo ola or lit ola? What's the difference? The lamed. Likrav ola. So if this animal is fit to be a burnt offering, nid katsha kedushat aguf. So now it's kedushat aguf. This animal is actually holy, not kedushat damim. You hear the difference? Okay. V'hi atzma tikrav ola. So now this animal has to be a korban. Before we just said this chetzia one is kedushat damim. Okay, so that's why it's redeemable. Okay, also kedushat damim. Its value is if this animal, for whatever reason, said this animal is supposed to be burnt offering, it's not fit for being a burnt offering for whatever reason, so it should be sold. V'yavi b'dameha olah. The person says this animal is supposed to be a korban and it's fit to be a korban. It actually is now considered a holy animal. If it, yeah, no, you can't. And if it's the type of animal that it can't be a korban because you only did half of it, or it has a mum or some other reason, so it should be redeemed, or wait until you could make it entirely holy, whatever the case may be. So this is an important halacha here that people should know what they're doing with their animals. I was thinking,
wait, is there ever a reason why somebody wants to make something hekdesh before you're actually going to slaughter it?
It's really dangerous to do that, right? Because once it's hekdesh, you have to be really, extra careful with it. So they have this concept already for certain things. They would make sure not to say it, not to declare this animal to be the korban until they finally get to the courtyard of the temple, even. That way you can't get into trouble, or make the korban pesach, only declare it to be the korban pesach once you're done using the animal to carry something for you, let's say. Right? Otherwise, you have a me'ila problem on your hands. Me'ila means using misuse of the sacrificial objects. Yeah, it's a very, very big problem. Okay? You have to know when to say it. I was thinking, I can imagine, I met a fellow who's a Nazir. Okay, if people say I'm going to be a Nazir until the Beis Hamikdash is built, so they're hoping, God willing, very soon the Beis Hamikdash will be built. They won't have to be a Nazir for a long time, and they'll have a triumphant and celebratory korban. The Nazir brings the 3 korbanos when he's done being a Nazir, right? So I thought for myself, I'm not going to be a Kohen, but I still have the chance I could have a grandson who's a Kohen somehow. My grandfather was a Kohen. He had no children. Now, he had no sons. Obviously, he had children. He had daughters. So that line stopped there. But
so you theoretically could have been a Kohen.
No, I couldn't have because I have a father. Well, my father wouldn't have been my father. I want to say that until my mother, I was a direct descendant of Aaron. Just to know, that's my yuchus. My mother's father. What? I'm not. What?
You're direct descendant.
My mother, until my mother. Right? It stops with my mother, but my mother's
a descendant of Aaron.
But direct descendant. My mother was a direct descendant of Aaron.
Why are you not a direct descendant?
Direct is through the fathers. Through the fathers. Yeah, that's what it means. So I say, how am I going to get the kahuna back in my family? Somehow I could have a grandson who's a Kohen. And I thought, I'll take a neder. The day my grandson first serves in the temple, I'll make a I'd say, like nowadays you say make a kiddush. I said, that'd be a thing to like somehow make a promise to offer a special korban the day, I have a son who actually serves in the temple. That's the type of thing I was thinking. So, like that'd be a good promise to make. Didn't do it, of course. I can't say a thing like that. Take it upon myself. That'd be pretty bad.
You have no grandsons that are Kohen.
Or if you have no way to compete, fulfill your promise. We were talking about that the previous chapter. Don't make promises you can't keep. There's Baal Ta'achir. Motzas Vatecha Shmor Vasita. And also there's a problem with creating hektish. You don't want to create a hektish that you can't take care of. It's not smart to make hektish if there is no temple. Right? Very foolish. Okay, so, but that's what I was thinking. That's the thing I would look forward to. So it says here, it continues. Let's say he has a non-kosher animal. This animal should not be a korban. Okay? Non-kosher animal, a lion. He says it's a burnt offering. If he added the lamid, these are supposed to be for a burnt offering. So the animal should be sold and then use the proceeds of the sale to buy a korban. I think we saw this also, this halacha. This is reviewing now, but it's good that we get to review this together. He says this last thing we said last week. The first 30 days, its value of this cow should be for a burnt offering. And the next 30 days, but after 30 days, its value is for shlamim. 30 days and on. Why does he keep using shlamim and all as examples? Because you're not supposed to do this with chatos. Chatos, you can't just volunteer. Chatos, you have to be guilty of something in order to have to bring it. Shlamim and olah come voluntarily. So somehow it says the first 30 days this type of korban. After 30 days, its value is for a different korban. Devar of kayamim. What?
If somebody knows they're chayav chatat,
yeah,
be able to do the saying, "This is for my chatat that I have to bring."
Yeah, you could do that, and then that animal is holy. So if he does that for a specific animal, he has to take care of the animal and bring it as a korban. If it dies, he'll have to get a new animal for his chatos, right? So you shouldn't do that until he's really ready to bring the animal as a sacrifice. Otherwise, he's going to keep losing animals.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big problem. Okay.
How big of a problem is this?
Well, I don't know. Let's say a person had done this. God willing, it shouldn't be a problem anymore. But 10 years ago, if a person had said this about a chatos, how long does the animal live? It's a female sheep is his basic chatos, right? And it's possible after it gets to a certain age, and it gets old fast, and then it dies. So he had a sheep for his, this female sheep for his chatas, and 2 years went by, no Beis Hamikdash. Tufshin Ayin Hay came and went, no Beis Hamikdash. That sheep is dead, completely. He's not even allowed to shear that sheep, so it's gone done. So say, you know what? I still have to bring a chatas. This new sheep will be for my chatas. And 2 more years passed. Tufshin Ayin Vav and Tufshin Ayin Zayin and Tufshin Ayin Ches passed, and still no Beis Hamikdash. He didn't offer his chatas, so he lost another sheep. You see?
Does he have to be Makdish?
No, he doesn't. Only when he's ready to bring it.
If you just see for some reason decide I'm gonna be Makdish, new sheep every time my sheep dies.
Yeah, so he's wasting sheep. So that's not smart. And not only that, the sheep, it's not like, okay, so he takes care of the sheep, it's fine, but he has the problem that the sheep is holy and he can't use it for anything. If you were to, let's say, shear the sheep, that's me'ilah. If you were to shecht it and eat it, that's me'ilah. That's a problem. So it's better to just not sanctify animals. You shouldn't say, with the past few years when people tried to bring Korban Pesach, they had a few goats, let's say. Those people who had the goats in the box, they tried to bring them to the Temple Mount, right? They didn't declare this goat is actually for Korban Pesach because then the goat would be sanctified. Yeah, so that's something they shouldn't do. They basically wait until they're almost ready to offer it. Then they say, now this is the Korban. And by the way, you can't bring it and just say, you have to do the act of dedicating it. They can't bring it to the Azar and say, you know what, this animal is just going to be, they never said it, just here's a goat. It's Korban Pesach, so we figure stam goats that come into the Azara. If it's a male goat in its first year, or a male lamb in its first year, and it's in the Azara on the 14th of Nisan, mistama. If it's not the Korban Tamid, it's a Korban Pesach, right? There's 2 Korban Tamids on Erev Pesach, and it's identical to the Korban Pesach itself, right? Mm-hmm. The Korban Pesach is also the same lamb, but it could also be a goat. I'm saying you have a lamb in the temple courtyard on the 14th of Nisan in the afternoon. It could be the Talmud, or it could be a Korban Pesach. What else is it? What's it doing there? But you're not supposed to bring unsanctified animals to there. So you have to. Yeah.
So you have to be sanctified right before you go.
Yeah, there's basically rules about this. God willing, we'll see them. You could have sanctified it well beforehand. Just like you're talking about smarts, like what's a tactic involved, or you want to hold on to it for yourself, whatever reason. There's reasons why there's at which point you do sanctify. But people used to do that. They would declare, like we see in the halachas, this animal is to be a korban. And then he's stuck with the animal. He has to make sure to bring it all the way to Jerusalem. They used to do that. So that's, he said, whatever he stipulated holds. And this is another halacha we saw. So I guess this was we'll mention this last halacha here, and then we'll close for Shabbos. Yolada tumtum v'androgonus einon kadoshin. So if he had made a promise, whatever the offspring of this animal is, it should be a korban, right? Various stipulations. A tumtum and androgynous of an animal is also not fit to be a korban. Like the Rambam says, ein lecha mun godol mizeh. You don't have a greater blemish in person or an animal than not being able to tell if it's male or female. So they don't have any holiness. So they're completely chulin, as we said, despite what the person says. Makdish over makdish ubar bim'ei ba'alaf mum b'chayotzi ba'harei kadosh. Let's say you have a ba'alaf mum. The ba'alaf mum is pregnant. Ba'alaf mum animal cannot be a korban, but he says the fetus is to be a korban, so that works. Because the fetus is going to be born, it'll be separate from its mother, and it could most likely be not a bal mum, and he'll be able to offer it as a korban. So I guess that brings it to conclusion. Yeah.
Who was the one who allegedly was going to be mixed with his God? Was it Yiftach?
Yeah, Yiftach was the one who said that.
Why would you think that?
No,
he said he was going to makriv whatever.
Well, he was ignorant.
He didn't know the halacha.
He didn't know the halacha. It could have said the first thing comes out I have to give to God. So first of all, he could have said, yeah, there's halacha. It could have been if he had consulted The Medrash adds, it's found in Gemara, and I think in Bava Basra, okay, where it says he could have gone to the Chazal put Pinchas still as Kohen Gadol then 300 years later. Okay, so Yiftach tells the king of Ammon, it's been 300 years since we conquered your so-called land. Where have you been until now? Well, why are you bringing this up now? They put Pinchas still there as Kohen Gadol, and as the greatest sage of his time, who was too proud to go help Yiftach do a proper Hataras Nadarim. And Yiftach also being too proud to have to go to get a Hataras Nadarim. But really, technically speaking, the halacha should have been that it had no count. But what did he promise to do? And what did he end up doing to his daughter? It's a little bit ambiguous from the Pesukim. Okay? So, yeah, it's kind of strange. The point, though, is it shouldn't have been done. He shouldn't have said what he said. It was said out of haste and impetuousness. He really shouldn't have said it. And he should have also realized that even though he did say it and he needed to repent for saying it, there shouldn't have been any consequences for what he said. He shouldn't have made good on what he did. Whatever he did to his daughter was not the right thing to do.
Wait, if somebody actually made that oath, would it automatically become the first animal that came out, or would it just be whatever the first thing out was not kosher before box?
It would be the first thing that's eligible for a korban. That's the way most person would say it, but you shouldn't say a thing like that.
No, the way he said his name.
Yeah.
First thing that comes out of the house.
Yeah.
Halachically, would that mean the first goat that comes out of his house becomes hekdesh, or because his daughter came out?
I don't know.
There's no.
I think it should have been the first thing that could have been a korban. What's the exact language? What did he use? Yeah. Vayarv talk nether Lashem Vayamar Im Nathon Titineth Bnei Biyadi Vayaha Yotzei Asher Yitzei Hayotzei Asher Yitzei Midalthei B'Thi L'Krathi B'Shuvi B'Shalom B'Bnei Amon Vayala Hashem V'Alithiu Lo. Should be for God, and I'll bring it as a burnt offering. Okay, so it's interesting. Why he said Hayotzei Asher Yitzei Dalthei B'Thi also. How many people have goats in their house? The doors of my house. What was he thinking? What is he Kazakhstanian? So he has a cow in his house? What was he thinking? What animals do you have in your house?
Yeah. He did have some sort of intention for some sort of humans.
Could be. Maybe it was it's not so crazy. There are people under influence of. We mentioned before the Ammonites. What did they worship? Ammonites and Moabites had Chemosh. That's what Yiftach makes fun of him. Whatever Chemosh your God gave you, but they also had Milcom and Molech, Baal Peor. What they offer Molech as sacrifice? Children. Yeah. So it wasn't, and that was the problem, is that the Jewish people were warned many times, don't do Molech. Why? Because the Goyim around you, the Goyim in this part of Eretz Yisrael and in the Transjordan, they do practice this form of human sacrifice. That's their thing. And it says that the Jews did this. It says none other than Chizkiyahu Melech. Achaz did this. It says Achaz passed his child through the fire. This King Achaz, who was, big into copying everything about the Assyrians. What did he do? He also did this whole, Molech worship. Big problem. I think it's Achaz. It says, or maybe it was Yoshiyahu. Okay, I want to just confirm that it says that Achaz did that, and then we'll close it here. Because we don't want to say anything incorrect. And then that's it. I've been told I have to do something here. Yes, it's true. Achaz did this to his own son. It says, "Vayelech b'derech malchei Yisrael." He did like the kings of Israel. Remember, they used to worship in foreign, golden calves. First of the kings we read about who did this, passing the child through the fire, just as the old Goyim used to do. The Goyim that Hashem had gotten rid of hundreds of years before, used to have this practice. Achaz brought it back. Yeah, that's a problem. Human sacrifice being practiced by Jewish rulers for whatever reason, something that happened. Yeah, pretty bad. Anyways, we should live to see the destruction of all our enemies, victory of Am Yisrael, speedily in our days and the reinstitution of the temple. Have a good Shabbos, everybody.